What's up guys? Uncle Scott here. Welcome to Uncle Scott's Kitchen. In this video, we're going to talk about stainless steel cookware. I've always said that if I could only have one frying pan in my kitchen, it would be a high quality stainless steel. However, stainless steel drives people crazy. There are lots of complaints. There are lots of problems. So in this video, we're going to go through the top 5 complaints about stainless steel cookware and tell you how to solve the problems. Okay, let's start with the number 1 problem and complaint about stainless steel cookware, and that is that food sticks to stainless steel if you don't use proper technique, if you don't cook correctly. It can be quite frustrating at first, and the solution here, I hate to be the one to break it to everyone, is that you have to focus on technique and you have to practice. There is a learning curve, and it can be a little frustrating at first, but just resolve to stick with it. And if you cook a few times and adjust for things that you're doing wrong, the light bulb will go off, and it actually goes from frustrating to quite easy to get nonstick food in stainless steel once you get the hang of it. There's no one-size-fits-all answer here because there are so many different reasons why food might stick in a stainless steel pan. The pan can be too hot, it can be too cold, you can use the wrong fat, you can add food to your fat, your oil at the wrong time. The food can be too wet, it can be too cold, it can be improperly prepared. You can add food to the pan and try and flip it, and it hasn't released yet, and it will stick to the pans. So the first thing is to acknowledge that there is a learning curve and that you're going to need to learn some techniques, and you're going to need to practice. And just by way of example here, let's look at a variety of temperatures for cooking in stainless steel. Something like bacon, you're going to start that out in a room temperature pan. Something like eggs, delicate fried eggs, that's going to be cooked at medium-low. Your standard pan frying is going to be medium. You can sear meat at high temperature with stainless steel. There are different temperatures and techniques for a wide variety of foods, so there is no one-size-fits-all rule for nonstick cooking in stainless steel. However, let's give you some good high-level tips and practices to follow to get you started in the right direction. The first thing you want to do is make sure your pan is preheated evenly. Second, make sure it is heated to the correct temperature for whatever you are going to cook. Third is use the correct fat and use enough of it. Sometimes oil makes certain foods stick. You might want to use butter for certain foods. It's just going to depend. Eggs, any egg I cook in oil only sticks, every single one. It doesn't matter about the temperature. If I use butter, the eggs are nonstick. Sometimes you want to cook with olive oil at a more moderate heat. If you want to use higher heat, you need an oil with a higher smoke point, something like peanut oil. So pick your correct fat for what you're going to cook. Also, make sure you add that fat to a hot pan. So you preheat the pan, then you add your oil. Next, work on your timing. Make sure that oil heats up as well. You can use visual cues. Make sure the oil shimmers a little bit. You can stick a wooden utensil in there and see if it kind of sizzles a little bit around the wood. What I like to do, what I think works best, especially for vegetables, is add a few test pieces around the pan. If those sizzle and are nonstick, odds are the rest of them are going to be nonstick as well. Now, potatoes and veggies, those should be nonstick from the moment they go in the pan. When it comes to proteins, things like chicken thighs, skin on chicken thighs, searing a steak at higher temperature, when you put those in the pan, they are likely to just fuse to the pan. Don't try and move those around and tear your meat. What you need to do there is allow those proteins to develop a crust. Let that Maillard reaction happen, and after a few minutes they will release, and then they are not stuck and you can flip and move your food. So lots of different possible techniques, lots of different foods. A point of advice here is don't try and master everything at once. Pick one or two foods and master those, get those nonstick. Potatoes are a great place to start because once you can cook a nonstick potato in a stainless steel skillet, you can do a wide variety of other things. But drill down, become an expert on one or two, and then start adding other foods. Don't overwhelm yourself at first. Second complaint, discoloration and stains. If you've cooked in stainless steel for a while, you've probably noticed eventually it has something to do with oxygen reacting with chromium in the stainless steel. You can get rainbow stains, so you get multicolored stains on the surface of the stainless steel. Also, if you cook things like bacon and you wash the pan really well and it dries and you get some haze in the pan, or even hard water stains if you don't dry your pan, especially where I am here in Utah. No need for a mineral supplement in Utah. If you let water dry on a pan, you're going to have some white chalky residue on there as well. Way to get rid of these is fairly simple. Just add some white vinegar to the pan, and that will usually get everything out. And if for any reason the white vinegar doesn't work, then I move up to Barkeeper's Friend, and that gets all those stains out as well, usually in just a few seconds. No big deal there. Third problem is burnt on gunk. Lots of times you'll see this after cooking proteins, something like bacon, searing a steak where some grease splatters on the sidewalls of the pan, especially on gas stoves where you get that heat going up around the pan. Sometimes that grease will kind of just fuse on there. What I do, for example, here with this bacon, while the pan is still hot, I add some water and bring that up to heat, and you can add a drop of dish soap at this point as well, and take a wooden scraper, spatula, turner, and essentially deglaze that pan with the hot water, and then wash it with sponge and dish soap. That usually gets most everything, and if anything were left, I would use some white vinegar or a drop or two of that Barkeeper's Friend and give it a final wash there, and usually no big deal. With the burnt on grease from something like a steak where it is cooked on there at very high temperature, typically that deglazing doesn't do a whole lot there, and you've got to just start with the Barkeeper's Friend. And one thing I've learned with the Barkeeper's Friend, you don't have to apply a lot of pressure. It's got micro abrasives, and I think one of the ingredients helps to dissolve the grease, and I find that light to medium pressure and just let the cleaner do its work, and then we'll get all that burnt on gunk out of there. And for 99% of the messes that I have ever experienced in stainless steel, the dish soap, the white vinegar, and the Barkeeper's Friend work just fine. Number 4 complaint and problem with stainless steel is warping. Oh, is there anything worse than a pan that is warped and turned into a spinner and will not sit flatly on a burner? What you want to do here, especially if you have the flat top stoves, and here I'm talking electric, the kind of ceramic glass top electrics, the inductions, what you want to do is heat those pans very slowly. So don't crank them up to high, don't crank them up to medium. When you go to start heating your pan, start out at low or at most medium low and let it go a minute or two, and then crank it up just a little bit and give that pan some time for the heat to diffuse outwards. In particular on induction cooktops, never use that rapid boil function, that blast function. You can blast heat in one area of a pan and it doesn't have enough time to react, and that heat doesn't have time to spread out, and it can cause some deformation and warp a pan very easily. So I never use the blast function with my induction. Also, to the extent possible, match the bottom diameter of your stainless steel pan as closely as possible with the diameter of your burner. You got to pay close attention here because many cooktops have graphics on those flat tops that look really wide. The actual coil or burner underneath may not be quite as wide as those graphics. So you got to be careful not to get a really hot spot right in the middle of the pan and cold out towards the edges. That can lead to a few warping issues. And if you decide to add a stainless steel skillet, I would get the thickest, heaviest one that you can effectively move around. You definitely want tri-ply, and that would have a core in the middle that helps to spread heat out, and those can be copper, they can be stainless steel, they can be aluminum is very common. And I also like thicker pans, so you can move up from tri-ply to 5-ply. I've got one of mine is a DeMeyer 7-ply, very thick, and I have never had any warping issues whatsoever with that thick multi-ply DeMeyer pan. Finally, the fifth most common complaint and problem with stainless steel cookware is pitting. And getting a pit in your nice new stainless steel pan is indeed the pits. Now, what is pitting? It happens to us all, and I've got stainless steel cookware that's 20 years old, and I've got some pits in my pan. A few over 15, 20 years is no big deal. A few every time you cook is a big deal, and you want to avoid that at all costs. What it is undissolved salt. If it sits on the surface of stainless steel, it can react, and it puts little blemishes on there. People call them pits. They are cosmetic, they don't affect the cooking, they just look bad. And you don't want to get these all over your nice cookware. And the solution here is very easy. Heat your water first, let it come up to a boil, then add your salt. So try to avoid adding salt to a cold liquid in a stainless steel pan. Heat your liquid first and then add your salt. Okay, I hope you found this video helpful and enjoyable. If you liked it, make sure you give it a like and subscribe to the old channel here if you want to see more like it down the road. Thank you for watching. Leave your questions, comments, and feedback below. We'll see you again next time on Uncle Scott's Kitchen.